Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What does God want done? This question will change your life. I want to change my life.
My question to you is, what does God want done? Welcome to my home, Phoenix, Arizona. This here is the genesis of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How does a person like me who flunked out of high school because I can't write an international bestseller? It's been a bestseller list for 25 years all over the world.
That is crazy.
So this is where the book started. This is a man named Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. He's probably more well known for the geodesic dome, and he's considered one of the greatest geniuses of our time. 1981, up in Kirkwood, California, I studied with him, and we spent the summer studying and all this stuff. And one day, Bucky Fuller asked me, "What's your life's purpose, son?" And I said, "To make a lot of money." And how was I to know that that was the worst answer possible? So he started scolding me in front of 100 people. "It's a waste of a good brain just to make money." Well, easy for you to say, but I enjoy making money. He says, "A waste of a brain." And I went to argue with the guy. Everybody's saying, the greatest genius on earth is here. John Denver worships the guy. The world worships Bucky Fuller. And I want to argue with him. So my friends were telling me to shut up. So finally, Fuller asked me this question. He says, "Stop doing what you want to do. Ask yourself this question: what does God want done?" And he says, most of the young people are too greedy. What do I want to do? He says, who cares what you want to do? The question is, what does God want done? So this was August 1981, and that was the genesis for the start of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So when Bucky Fuller asked me, he says, "What does God want done?" I didn't know. I never looked at life from that angle. And finally I said, well, I better start doing something. This is long before Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out. This was 1981. And I said, I know how to make money because I had a rich dad, I had a poor dad. And so I started teaching how to make money back in 1981. And it progressed along. And finally, around 1996, I'd already met Kim. We got married. Our goal was to retire early. So I retired at 47. She was 37. We gave ourselves a goal of 10 years, how to retire in 10 years. That was our goal. So we hit it, we made it in 10 years. And people kept asking us, how did you guys do it? How'd you do it? And so with that, I wrote a book called, If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School, because schools don't teach us about money. And If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School became a bestseller also. And so Simon & Schuster picked up the book. And this guy named Robert Asahina, the Japanese guy, Kim and I flew to New York City to Simon & Schuster. And we sit down and Asahina holds up my If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School book. And he says, "It's a pretty good book." I said, "What? I'm not going to make you an offer for it." I said, "I thought he was going to buy my book." He says, "It's a pretty good book, Robert Asahina." I said, "I flew all the way from Hawaii to New York City, and you're going to tell me it's a pretty good book? It's a bestseller." He says, "Let me..."
Before he carries on, don't you see I'm sure it's very, very interesting. I'm sure you think of it as well in regards to where he currently is right now and the journey. He hasn't even made Rich Dad, Poor Dad yet. So I don't know. I'm sure he's living out a couple of details, but I find it very fascinating to see an entrepreneur's journey and to feel like they're not going to make it. And then eventually that's why we consume content like this, because you're just like, it's so fascinating. Success leaves clues and we're picking up the clues.
You haven't told me what you know. What? You have not told me what you know. So if you want to be rich and happy, don't go to school. It's a book filled with anger, but you haven't told me what you know. When you tell me what you know, and that's on top of Bucky Fuller's thing, what does God want done? What do I know? Some of you know I flunked out of high school because I can't write. So I hate writing. It's the worst thing you could ask me to do. So I take this guy from Simon & Schuster's advice. I go to Bisbee, Arizona, and I'll show you the little cabin I worked in. I sat there with these questions. What do I know? So I was renovating an old stagecoach depot that ran from Tombstone, Arizona to Bisbee, Arizona. In this old rock house, I was there renovating it. And I'm sitting there working on this book, What Do I Know? And finally, one night, I'm sitting there on my little Mac computer and it came out. What I know is I had a rich dad and I had a poor dad. And that's how the whole thing came out. So I sat there writing, I had a rich dad and a poor dad. Of course, the book was turned down. That was 1997 it came out. I'd already created the cash flow board game. So 97, Rich Dad, Poor Dad came out. And again, the academic liberals who run this world, the book companies turned my book down again. I said, wait a minute, you told me write what I know, now you turned the book down. So because you turned my book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, down, I self-published it. And I self-published the book at 1,000 copies. And it's sitting.
Let me guess, that was the best thing ever. Let's hear that again. Self-published. That's like Rocky the movie. nobody will give him a shot, and then I believe he done it himself or something like that, and now Rocky Balboa was a massive hit.
That down, I self-published it, and I self-published the book at 1,000 copies, and it's sitting in our garage. Kim and I were living here in Phoenix, Arizona, at 1,000 copies in my garage, and I didn't know how to sell it, so I took 12 books, I shipped it to my friend in Austin, Texas, Keith Cunningham, and I said, Keith, put my books in your car wash. He says, we don't sell books in car washes. I said, no, good, that's good, no competition. He says, now, if those books don't sell, you're getting it back. I said, I promise, I'll take it back. So I put 12 books in Keith Cunningham's car wash in Austin, Texas, and nothing happened. And about a month later, Keith says, all your books are gone. I said, oh, good, you want some more? He goes, no. I got too nervous. We don't sell books in car washes. So I sat there again. I had a garage full of books. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy, hi, my name is Bill Galvin. I said, yeah. Are you Robert Kiyosaki? I said, yes. He says, I bought your book. You're the guy that bought my book? He goes, yeah. I bought all of them. Wow. I said, why'd you buy all of them? He said, it's a good book. How many books you got? I said, 1,000 minus 12. He says, I'll take all of it. I went, all of it? Who are you? He says, I am a diamond.
Whoa. If this isn't God at hand, wow, I don't know what
why'd you buy all of them? It's a good book. How many books you got? I said, 1,000 minus 12. He says, I'll take all of it. I went, all of it? Who are you? He says, I am a diamond with Amway. I went, what? He says, I'm a diamond with Amway. I said, I've heard of you guys. He says, we'll take all your books. And that's how Rich Dad Poor Dad got started. Amway, great network marketing company that teaches capitalism like I teach capitalism. You know, if you want to learn how to be an entrepreneur, Amway's a great way to learn. And that book went all over the world. Then out of nowhere, Oprah Winfrey called. I went, holy mackerel. So I was in Australia at the time. I was hunting in Australia. And Kim calls me from Phoenix and says, Oprah wants to see you. I said, good, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. She says, Oprah wants you now. I said, well, who is Oprah? She says, Kim says, get your ass home now. So I had to cut my hunting trip short. I fly all the way from Australia to Phoenix to Chicago, where Oprah's show is. And there's this little theater in the round with 2 chairs. And I'm going, wonder who the other chair is for. Oh my God, that's my chair. And so Oprah comes out, she takes a seat in that chair, one chair, and I come on stage, and that picture of she and I shaking hands is there. The weight loss is crazy. It's a great book. And that's how Rich Dad got started. So it was Amway, Oprah, and then another guy, Donald Trump, calls. He says, Robert, I want to talk to you about your book. And that's how the whole genesis started. It started with years and years ago the question, what does God want done? And as you know, there's no financial education in our schools. So the gap between rich and poor grows wider and wider and wider. So because of that question, what does God want done, the whole chain of event took several years. When Amway called, Oprah called, and Donald Trump, the chain of event
how many years?
Wider and wider. So because of that question, what does God want done, the whole chain of event took several years. When Amway called, Oprah called, and Donald Trump called. That's how Rich Dad Poor Dad got started all over the world. And that's the story. So I have a question for you. As Bucky Fuller said to me, he says, you know, everybody says, what do I want to do? My question to you is, what does God want done? Ask yourself, what does God want done? Ask yourself.
This is so powerful, and you realize that it will take you out of what you want to do, and then you'll get in a mindset of fulfilling or helping or being at service for others, and which is exactly what business is, and which is exactly what Christ done for us anyways. He came to save us. We love Christ, but he's the one who loved us first, you see. So he said, you guys loved me, but I loved you first. So just like in business, the customer's always right. You're always catering. You're always trying to service and please your customers and so forth. Customer satisfaction. These are all biblical principles. And I'm so surprised. I didn't know he was a Christian. That Robert Kiyosaki, it seems like the whole world has read Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, let me know in the comment section down below and tell me what did you learn from it basically? What was your biggest takeaway that's helped you out in your business or in your path? Or maybe you're just up and coming. I want to know all of that. May God bless you all, and I'll catch you guys on the next